When I was 21 years old, I had a very clear mental model about how the world worked. Obtain success, and you'll be happy for the rest of your life. Then, at 21, I attained my version of success. I got admitted to UC Berkeley. I still remember arriving there the first day, walking up the hillside campus, marveling at the iconic tower that was glimmering in the California sunshine. I remember feeling the warmth of the sun on my skin and thinking to myself, I made it. This is it. Yes! The rest of my life is going to be like surfing out one long, never-ending wave. 2 weeks later, that wave collapsed. My happiness faded. Having achieved my goal, I simply replaced it for a new goal, in my case, attending an even more prestigious university. I was in despair. I told myself, this is not how the world is supposed to work. The despair lasted for several weeks, and ironically, it ended on the Harvard campus. Being the person I was visiting relatives in the neighborhood, and I thought, I should go visit Harvard. So I was strolling across the beautiful red brick campus on a beautiful autumn day, and then this big, bright yellow sign caught my eye. It was an ad for a book, and it read, Happier, based on the most popular course in Harvard. I was intrigued, so I headed to the nearby bookstore on the corner of the campus, and I walked straight into a wall of the same bright yellow. There were books, Happier, Happier, Happier. So I picked up one of the books, and I was captivated. It seemed that this book was written for me. It explained exactly why my mental model was wrong. And it hit home especially hard when I reached the section on the rat racer. So I Googled rat racer, and Google responded with this quote, even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. Ouch. I didn't want to be a rat. And so in the months that followed, I started practicing many of the evidence-based practices from positive psychology, mindfulness meditation, writing down 3 things I'm grateful for every night before I went to bed, establishing a regular exercise routine. I became happier. And I also started dedicating loads of time to understanding the science behind happiness and well-being. And I soon came to understand that the rat racer in me was actually a reflection of larger social structures. That I and most of society had it backwards. That success is actually a very poor predictor for long-term happiness. That the inverse is true. That happiness is quite a good predictor for long-term success. And research by the Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman shows that up to a certain point, wealth contributes to our well-being. But after we've reached this point, it vastly starts diminishing. And this brings me to my main idea. We need to shift our focus from wealth to well-being. So let's look at where we are with well-being today. Across Europe, one of our most comprehensive measures of well-being is a concept called human flourishing. This concept has been developed by 2 leading scientists at Cambridge University who define it as feeling good and functioning effectively. It includes things like vitality, resilience, engagement, having positive relationships, and sense of meaning. I invite all of you to just briefly close your eyes and ask yourself the question, are you flourishing? And now, keeping your eyes closed, imagine walking down the street in your hometown. Look around you. How many of the people around you are flourishing? What's the percentage? If you like, you can open your eyes. In Europe, this number is 17%. 17% of us is flourishing. There's huge potential, right? So in the last century, we have committed all of our energy, resources, and ingenuity to dramatically improving our wealth. And though we still have a way to go in many parts of the world, many of us live in a world of abundance. This telephone holds more computing power than NASA when they first landed a man on the moon. We are richer than ever before, and by almost any measure of standard of living, we have vastly exceeded the expectations of our ancestors. Perhaps the most telling statistic is that in the last 100 years, we have contributed more to life expectancy than in all of previous human evolution combined. It's incredible, right? Imagine what we could achieve if we committed that very same ingenuity, energy, and resources to human flourishing. If we do that, I believe we could achieve in the next 100 years for well-being what we've achieved in the last 100 years for wealth. So that's the dream. And today I want to talk about the first steps of making that dream a reality. Now the good news is we don't have to start from scratch. Many of the foundations for this revolution have already been found in the field of positive psychology. And the essence of positive psychology is this: learning from the best and applying to the rest. This has been beautifully captured by Abraham Maslow, who has been dubbed the grandfather to the field. Now Maslow told us that if we want to know how fast a human being can run, then it is no use to look at the average of a good sample of the population. What we want to do is we want to study gold medalists and see how well they can do, and then ask the question, how can we move the average in the direction of the gold medalists? Now Maslow was studying individuals, and most of positive psychology is about studying individuals. But if we really want to push humanity forward, we need to take that wisdom and extrapolate it to larger entities, like countries, cities, and organizations. And today I want to talk to you about organizations, mainly because it's what I know. And I've chosen to focus on organizations because organizations are the most powerful human invention yet. It is where most of us spend over a third of our lives. And it is where, as a species, we concentrate our energy, resources, and ingenuity most densely. This last point is clearly illustrated by the fact that of the 100 largest economies in the world, 37 are now organizations. So if we manage to change our organizations, we can change our world. Another reason for focusing on organizations is that they have very powerful incentives to change. Business as usual is not an option. A recent study among 2,500 organizations across 90 countries illustrated one thing clearly: organizations are struggling to engage our modern 21st century workforce. Gallup research indicates that only 13% of people around the world have actively engaged at work, and twice that number is actively disengaged. A more straightforward reason for organizations to embrace flourishing is that it contributes to their bottom line. And research shows this very clearly. A flourishing workforce is a more productive, more resilient, more creative workforce. So organizations have incredible potential and incredible incentives to increase human flourishing. Which brings me to the last part of my talk today, perhaps the most important one. What strategies can organizations pursue to help their people flourish? So first and most straightforward, they can focus on the well-being of their individuals. Today, in many organizations, what's called people development is essentially about skills. That's really only one half of the equation, the other half being well-being. They can take the practices from positive psychology and apply them, give people mindfulness training, train them in gratitude, acts of kindness. And this is being done in some organizations, but really there's huge potential. Sean Aker has one of the greatest TED Talks of all time on this. If you haven't watched it, I recommend you do so. You'll thank me later, it's really funny. But for now, I'd like to share just one example. It's an example of someone I met recently at a conference while I was on my study of flourishing organizations, a guy called Jack Hubbard. Jack is the founder and CEO of an organization called Clarendon. In his organization, they have what they call a dream machine. Imagine having a dream machine at the center of your office. It's a classic gumball machine with one of these red metal bases and a plastic sphere. And inside the plastic sphere are these little plastic balls. But inside the plastic balls, rather than containing chewing gum, they have the dreams of all the people in your organization. And every time the organization collectively hits its per-person targets, a dream pops out. So in the last year at Clarendon, one person drove his motorcycle across Africa, 2 other people went to the World Cup in Rio together, and perhaps most strikingly is that one person got the time, money, and manpower to build a product that he had always wanted to build. And now that product is one of the company's most profitable products. The second strategy for helping organizations flourish is at the organizational level. Now there are many evidence-based positive management practices But a good example is building positive energy networks. Positive energy, which researchers have defined as a feeling of zest, aliveness, and vitality, is correlated with great performance and good leadership. An organization using a very simple set of questions, whether there are 50 people or 40,000 people, can map out positive energy of the entire organization. Now, mapping it out is the first step in getting more of it. Potential follow-ups could be looking where there are abundance of energy and where there are deficit gaps, and then looking how you can adapt accordingly. Or asking which people in the organization really have the potential to champion positive change. And the third and final strategy is committing to a larger purpose. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche was talking about individuals when he said, "He who knows his why can bear any how." But I believe it's just as true for organizations. A brilliant example is found in neighborhood nursing in the Netherlands. This field was completely disrupted by one organization called Buurtzorg. Buurtzorg was founded against the backdrop of a broken bureaucracy, which basically severed the human connection between patient and caregiver. So Buurtzorg's purpose is very simple. Give nurses, empower nurses to empower patients to take care of themselves as quickly as possible. In 2006, Buurtzorg had only 10 people. Today, they employ over 2/3 of all neighborhood nurses in the Netherlands. Incredible, right? So put simply, there are 3 ways organizations can pursue flourishing. They can focus on the well-being of their people as individuals, on how their people collectively spread positive energy amongst each other, how they collaborate, and they can focus on committing to a larger purpose. To sum it up, it's not just about having ping pong tables and free lunch. It's about really committing to well-being. It's about taking dreams seriously. It's about finding ways of collaboration which make positive energy flow through your organization like electricity flows through water. And it's about really committing to a purpose. Not just as an abstract, nice idea that you put up on a wall, but as something that reverberates through everything that you do, that makes people excited to get out of bed in the morning. I believe that if we do that, we can do for well-being in the next 100 years what we've done for wealth in the last 100.